All right, here we go. Thursday, September 8th. Down with the monarchy. Down with the monarchy. It broke at 1:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Queen Elizabeth, Canada's head of state, dead at age 96. Hopefully this is the end of Canada having any kings, queens, princes, princesses anymore. I don't know why we've decided to stay with that, since the whole idea of Canada was to flee the British monarchy. But yeah, Queen Elizabeth is dead. She died on Thursday afternoon at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Buckingham Palace said in a short statement she was 96. The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen consort will remain at Balmoral this evening, and will return to London tomorrow, the palace said in reference to the Queen's son Charles, who automatically became king upon her death, and his wife Camilla. How old is Charles? Prince Charles. How old is he? I'm going to keep reading here. Maybe they'll say. Her husband, Prince Philip, died in April of 2021. Wonder if it's the vaccine. Nope, can't talk about that. Elizabeth became queen in 1952, 70 years ago, at the relatively tender age of 25, and presided over the country and the Commonwealth, including Canada, for 7 decades. Yeah, that's 70 years. Those 70 years as monarch were recognized during this year's Platinum Jubilee events, which reached their height in London in early June. In her time as monarch, Elizabeth bore witness to profound changes, blah, 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 talk about her life, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Not up to date with all this fucking bullshit going on with the royal family. Prince Charles is 73. So King Charles is 73. How old was the Queen again? 96. So she was 23 when she had him? Yeah, that's great. Another old fart in the wind is going to be running the royal family. Can't have clean, fresh blood in the royal family. You know, the royal family is known for being incestuous, after all. That's how they keep the blood pure. In other news, away from the British monarchy over Canada, the fugitive suspect in Saskatchewan stabbing rampage is dead. Let's see how they swing this one. Miles Sanderson went into medical distress shortly after arrest. The main suspect in the recent stabbing rampage in Saskatchewan died Wednesday afternoon, shortly after police captured him. Miles Sanderson went into medical distress after he was arrested and was pronounced dead at a hospital in Saskatoon. Rhonda Blackmore, commanding officer of the Saskatchewan RCMP, told a news conference Wednesday night. When did this get posted? This was posted... this says it was updated 4 hours ago, so that would have been 11 a.m. Yeah. Why did we have to wait all night to hear about this? Anyway, CBC reporting for you. They're nice and prompt and always honest. They're not run by the government at all. Where was I? 10 people were left dead and another 18 injured in the James Smith Cree Nation area and the nearby village of Weldon, Saskatchewan, over the Labor Day weekend. Those tallies do not include Miles or his brother, Damian Sanderson, who was also facing charges before he was found dead on Monday. RCMP say Miles was arrested near Rothstern, Saskatchewan at about 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time Wednesday. Shortly after, RCMP issued an alert saying a person with a knife was traveling in a vehicle and had last been seen in Waka, about 90 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. Now that Miles is deceased, we may never have an understanding of that motivation. She expressed relief that Miles is no longer on the run. This evening, our province is breathing a collective sigh of relief. The RCMP has asked Saskatoon Police and the Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team to conduct an independent investigation into circumstances surrounding Miles's death. I don't know about you, but it's kind of fishy that he went into distress and died while he was in custody of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Also, they said he was 3 hours away from Saskatchewan or from Saskatoon? Let me double check that. Yeah, so they say he was last seen in Waka, about 90 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. So 90 kilometers, 100 kilometers an hour. So it took him about an hour and a half. No, my math is fucked. But yeah, 90 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. Why did they take him to Saskatoon? That's a long way to go if someone's in distress. I'm not familiar with the geographical distances of Saskatchewan. I do know that it is mainly flat. I do know that there is a lot of First Nation communities around there. But the big question that I'm sure everybody has is, why was he out in the first place? Why was someone with, I'm looking at over 59 convictions, and I mean, when they say it's a conviction, to me that means you've either pled guilty to it or they found that you were guilty to it. I don't see any mention of any appeals or anything like that. I did see something here. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was in regards to his release. I couldn't find any Canadian sources on this, so we're gonna go over to the crappy news network of CNN. Now this isn't updated. This is as of a couple days ago. They're speaking in regards to why he was out. And I'll just scroll down to where it is here. So let's start with, it's about halfway down the page on CNN.com. Suspect had been released by parole board. Sanderson was previously granted statutory release by the Parole Board of Canada, according to a ruling made February 1st, 2022. The board said in the ruling that it didn't believe Sanderson would present a risk to the public if released. It's the board's opinion that you will not present an undue risk to society if released on statutory release, and that your release will contribute to the protection of society by facilitating your reintegration into society as a law-abiding citizen. The decision did note his long criminal history, 59 fucking convictions, and that he was assessed by a psychologist for a quote-unquote moderate risk of violence. Your criminal history is very concerning, including the use of violence and weapons related to your index of offenses and your history of domestic violence, which victimized family, including your children and non-family, the decision states. You are assessed as a moderate risk of violence and domestic violence by the psychologist. While your behavior in custody has not demonstrated significant concerns, there have been some minor concerns. What were the minor concerns? Did he maybe stab someone in jail? Is that maybe a minor concern? I don't know. He definitely did it when he got out. According to the Parole Board of Canada, statutory release is a presumptive release by law that allows an offender to serve part of their sentence in the community under direct supervision. Who was supervising him? If he was on the run and had time to, we'll say, kill 30 people, sure, he didn't successfully kill 30 people, but he had the time to do it. Statutory release aims to provide an offender with structure and support before the end of their sentence to improve their chances at a successful reintegration into the community. Well, that failed, didn't it? I don't think this was a successful reintegration into the community. This individual was on statutory release. Statutory release is a presumptive release by law. It is not parole and is not a Parole Board of Canada decision, the board told CNN in an emailed statement. By Canadian law, the Correctional Service of Canada must release most offenders with supervision after they have served 2/3 of their sentence, if they have not already been granted parole. Offenders serving a life sentence are not eligible for statutory release. So, how many convictions do you need to get a life sentence? Maybe it's 60 or 61, because it sure as shit isn't 59. On Monday, police in Saskatchewan confirmed Sanderson stopped meeting with his parole officer in May. In May, it is what? September 8th? He's been on the run for 3 days, September 5th. So May to June, June to July, July to August, August to September. Those are the months that he was not meeting with his parole officer. Now, there's a lot of information that's kind of contradictory here, because it says this individual was on statutory release. Statutory release is a presumptive release by law. It is not parole and is not a Parole Board of Canada decision. Why did he have a parole officer if he wasn't on parole? And I'll just scroll up a little more, because there's even more shit. Back to what I already read. They stated, it is the board's opinion that you will not present an undue risk to society if released on statutory release, and that your release will contribute to the protection of society by facilitating your reintegration into society as a law-abiding citizen. With 59 convictions, you can never become a law-abiding citizen. It's even argued that with one conviction, you are no longer a law-abiding citizen. You do serve your time for the crimes, but you can't call yourself a law-abiding citizen anymore, because you didn't abide by the law as a citizen of Canada. So how are they thinking someone with 59 convictions got a chance to become a law-abiding citizen? They state the 59 convictions took place over 20 years, over the last 20 years. So let's do some quick math. 59 divided by 20, he had 3 convictions a year. Anybody else see any problems with that? No one has any problems with 3 convictions a year. And let's say, I'm going to see if I can find out exactly how much time he served, because they state if he serves more than 2/3 of his jail time, that he's eligible to be statutory released. My grammar sucked, but let's see. I'm just scrolling back up. I skimmed through a lot of it here. So there's nothing. CNN doesn't state how long he was in jail. Let's check something else out here. We're going back to CBC here. I'm pretty sure CBC stated it. I thought it was something like 4 years. I'm just pulling that number off the top of my head while I scroll through the CBC article here. As of now, they're just talking about how he broke into a house, stole a truck, but still. The son said his mother, a widow, saw Miles walk up to the front door, which was locked, and ran into the bathroom in her bedroom. Okay, yeah. Locking both the bedroom and bathroom doors. She had her cell phone and was trying to call police when Miles smashed the front bedroom and bathroom doors. So he went through 1 door, 2 doors, 3 doors. The son said Miles was armed with a knife, but told the woman that he wouldn't hurt her. Well, I'd believe someone with 59 convictions who's currently on the run for, 29 incidents involving violence, who had no contact over, 4 months with his parole officer. I'd definitely take his word for it that he's not going to hurt me. Just because he has a knife doesn't mean he's going to hurt me. Miles took the keys to the woman's truck along with her cell phone, cigarettes, water, and a Pepsi. Pepsi, the root of all evil. Miles asked the woman to go with him. Hey, you want to go for a ride? I got some cigs. I'll grab you a bottle of Pepsi. We'll go for a ride. Come on, I'm not going to hurt you. We're just going for a ride in your truck. Miles asked the woman to go with him, according to her son, but she refused, believing that he would kill her. Well, she's not a fucking moron. Yeah, someone on the run who's been stabbing his way across the province. Yeah, you don't want to get in a truck with him, even if it's your own truck, even if you're driving. Even if you're driving and you have someone with a pistol in the front seat and he's in the back seat and he says he's not going to kill you, you still don't get in the fucking truck. You still don't go for a drive. When Miles left the property, the woman called a relative using a landline, who then called the RCMP. Hold up. Why wouldn't she call the RCMP first? A wanted killer just showed up at my house. Just broke down 3 doors. Stole my beloved Pepsi and my truck. And I'm going to call my neighbor. I'm going to call a relative with my landline. I'm not going to call the cops first. Oh, I can't call the cops first. I got to make sure that I tell someone else about what happened because I can't call the cops first. What are the cops going to do other than potentially show up and catch him while he's still present? Nah, we got to call a relative. Make sure the relatives know that he was just here, and I'm sure the relative just said, like, why the fuck are you calling me? Call 911. And then they didn't trust her to call 911, so they probably hung up. They called 911, and she probably called 911 too, going, hey, ding, ding, ding. Once again, I'm not blaming the victim of any of this crimes at all. Just some stuff that people don't really think about in the moment. Blackmore confirmed the details of both the break and enter and the stolen truck. She said the woman was not injured. Cool. She got lucky. Miles was alone when he was arrested. Okay. But Blackmore said RCMP couldn't say if he was alone all day. They will be investigating whether anyone assisted him while he was on the run. You know who assisted him while he was on the run? This is a secret I'm going to let everybody know. The people who assisted him while he was on the run was the RCMP. Why did they assist him while he was on the run? Because they didn't check in with his parole officer. His parole officer didn't report to the RCMP that I have no idea where this fucking guy is. I haven't heard from him in 4 months. They didn't find him on the Cree Nation. They found him off of it. If this sounds familiar whatsoever to anybody who's familiar with the RCMP and how they handle mass casualty scenarios, let's think about the Portapique stuff. Gabriel Wortman, I think that was his name. They were looking all over Portapique for him. They had no reason to believe that he was anywhere else. So they cordoned off the area while Gabriel Wortman was outside of the area that they were looking in. They thought he was dead in the woods and he no longer posed a risk. I'm guessing that was the same scenario that they handled here in Saskatchewan. They believed he was still on the reservation. And Turns out he wasn't. We don't know if he killed anyone off of the reservation. They're just saying an area. But yeah, it's kind of similar how if a lot of people start dying, the police just hyper focus on that one community where it is, and they don't believe for a second that he could be anywhere else. Now, I'll give the RCMP some credit in this. They did release alerts telling people to stay home, shelter in place, shit like that. Shit that they didn't do when Portapic happened, right? Like they kind of learned because the community that they were searching, they sent an alert to them saying, "Stay the fuck in your house." Whereas Portapic, they didn't send an alert saying, "Stay the fuck in your house." They were just searching all fucking willy-nilly. There was even reports that during Portapic, Gabriel Wortman drove past a police officer on the way out of Portapic. And the police, I guess they forgot what he looked like and let him go. So we're assuming right now that all of the RCMP have the same training because they've kind of handled these last two mass casualty scenarios pretty much the same, aside from an alert here or there. But there was also other alerts going on in Saskatchewan that they sent out. So there's also that. It could be commonplace that Saskatchewan has more alerts sent out in general compared to Nova Scotia, where the Portapic shooting happened. I don't know. I bet no one's really going to put two and two together and come to an assumption that based on the populace of different areas, they handle crime differently. It's common sense to me. I don't think anybody in the mainstream media is going to be putting two and two together like that. I don't think they're going to really scrutinize the RCMP because they send out a text to everybody in the area saying, "Stay the fuck home." But yeah, that's pretty much the only thought that the train of thoughts that I have in regards to the Saskatchewan mass casualty scenario. So yeah, in what? Mass Casualty Commission is still going over the Portapic incident that happened in, I believe it was 2020, so 2 years ago. So we're looking at what? 2024? There will be a Mass Casualty Commission for this one as well. I do want to say this. If the police did kill him, which it does sound a lot like they did because he went into medical distress and then died. He went into medical distress while he was in custody of the RCMP. The RCMP has a bad history of how they treat the First Nations people. I could go into Starlight Tours if you guys would like to hear more about that. There's also a lot of issues with the healthcare system out west in how I'll say care providers, so doctors, nurses, continuing care assistants, stuff like that. There's also a lot of shit going on with how they treat Aboriginals or First Nations people. So that's definitely something that happens a lot more out west, because there's a lot more room to do it out west. The Maritimes, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI in Newfoundland and Labrador. Yeah, we got a lot of forest. We don't have near as much forest as Manitoba, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. There's a lot more room to be a shady piece of shit out west. But yeah, going into a different topic here. Justin Trudeau, with his Dumb and Dumber fucking haircut here, he made an announcement. I'll send my reaction to it after the end. But let's read what CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, says. Ottawa will give $650 annually to low and mid-income families for kids' dental care, sources say. Well, you're run by the government, so your source is the government. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to announce new measures to tackle inflation, including details of a plan for dental care for low-income families, a one-time benefit for low-income renters, and a temporary boost to the GST credit. All part of a plan to fulfill a deal between the federal Liberals and the NDP. Hold up. The coalition is doing something that's going to put money in the pockets of Canadians? No. I thought all the money we had went overseas to the Ukraine, along with all our military weapons. Anyway, sources in both parties tell CBC News that Trudeau and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh will announce the details in separate announcements on Thursday. Can't announce them at the same time because that gives the sign of a coalition. Yeah, can't do that. Under the proposed legislation, the government will give money to pay for dental visits for children under 12 directly to families who earn $90,000 or less. Jesus fuck. $90,000 or less. That's like 75% of Canada. According to multiple NDP sources, parents from low and middle income families will receive $650 annually for 2 years per child to pay for dental visits. The dollar figure will be announced by the Prime Minister during the final day of the cabinet retreat in Vancouver. Fuck. Scheduled for 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Singh will speak in Halifax at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's 3:35 right now. So it's 2:35 Eastern Standard Time. So he's probably already done speaking. He probably said, Justin Trudeau told me I have to do this, otherwise he's not going to be my friend anymore. The payments will be a stopgap measure meant to cover low-income families while the government works out a permanent dental care program. Eventually, the government could issue a dental card that families could present during appointments to allow dentists to bill the government. The Liberals and NDP signed a supply and confidence agreement in March, under which the latter promised to provide the minority government with enough votes on key pieces of legislation in exchange for advancing new Democratic campaign platforms. A dental care plan was part of that agreement. But another targeted spending measure that wasn't in the deal is also expected to be announced. The government is set to double the GST tax credit for low-income Canadians to help them cope with the rising cost of living. For months, New Democrats have been calling for the government to help people by doubling GST tax credit. Canadians can receive up to $467 in GST tax credit payments if you are single, $612 if you are married or have a common law partner, plus an additional $161 for each child under the age of 19. 19? So they're increasing the age. It was always 18 for a child. Parties are also expected to announce the long-awaited housing benefit top-up. The NDP Liberal agreement promised renters a $500 one-time top-up to the Canada Housing Benefit this year. These measures will be put forward in a bill when Parliament resumes sitting September 19th. So let's cover something that CBC didn't even mention in there. Children in Canada are covered up until the age of 16 for free dental care. It might not be comprehensive dental care, but they're still covered with free dental care. just like I believe their prescriptions are covered for free because it's part of the Canadian healthcare system. I even believe optometrists are covered not as thoroughly as dental or as medical. Maybe someone can explain to me the difference between seeing something, tasting something, and being alive. I think you have to see something. That should kind of go without saying that everybody should have the right in Canada to be able to see. Everybody should have the right in Canada to be able to eat. Everybody in Canada should have the right to be able to live a healthy lifestyle. That's not always the case. That's a bigger topic. I'm not going to get into that bigger topic now. But yeah, I just want to know what the fuck is going on with the NDP and the Liberals. They are probably just going to keep everything the same and say that they made changes to the dental plan for children. What's this? This is another article I'm just noticing here. It's just kind of underneath this on cbc.ca. It says, buying a phone or paying your bill? Be ready to show ID at Rogers stores before entering. Let's click on that and see what's going on. Policy aimed at reducing robberies and fraud at retail locations, company says. If you've gone to a Rogers store during business hours recently and were wondering why the door is locked, the company wants you to know it's the result of a policy change aimed at preventing robberies and fraud. How is me showing ID going to prevent fraud? What if the ID is fraudulent? Oh shit, we didn't think of that. The Canadian telecom giant now requires customers to show a piece of government-issued identification before entering the store. A rule that has some experts and customers in Toronto raising their eyebrows. Safety of our team members and customers is of utmost importance to us. Yeah, it's of utmost importance to fucking every company. Don't know why you just keep using this copy-paste shit. Several measures have been put in place over the last few years to improve safety in the stores, including robust training, upgraded cameras, and enhanced door screening policy. Policy is a hassle, customer says. Rogers says it's a national policy that was implemented over a year ago, but the company also says it only applies in certain stores, although it does not specify which ones or where they're located. This customer's name is Oriel Ramirez, one of the customers who has experienced it firsthand. He says it was a hassle when he went to a Rogers store in Toronto Tuesday to replace his phone, which had been stolen. Ramirez says he was told he would need identification to be able to enter to buy a phone. Problem was, he says, the thief also swiped his ID and credit card, so he had no way of gaining entry to the store. It was a bit of a hassle to get all the way back home, and then by the time I got back, it had already closed. You have security guards in the store, so I don't really think it's necessary. I'm just going to kind of sum up what I got from that last little piece of the article from CBC. I don't want to sound like one of those people, but Oriel Ramirez, he was probably profiled by a Rogers employee, because it sounds like Rogers' national policy was implemented a year ago. Cool. All employees with Rogers should be well trained on this. The company also says it only applies to certain stores. Well, which stores does it apply to? Is it mainly minorities that frequent these stores that it applies to? Is that what Rogers is saying? Though it does not specify which ones or where they're located. You should probably just say it applies to all Rogers stores. If it's a national policy, you'd think it would apply to all Rogers stores. That would kind of keep everybody on the same track instead of saying it's national policy. But each retailer has the option to abide by a national policy, because that's exactly what's going on. Is different retail locations are deciding whether or not they would like to profile their customers. In this scenario, presented by CBC.ca, good old Canadian Broadcasting Company, uh, the Rogers store that Oriel Ramirez went to, he was profiled by a Rogers employee. Now, if you're an American amongst us, you probably might not have heard that Rogers is one of the biggest telecoms. I'll say second largest. First would be Bell Media. Rogers had, I believe it was a 4-day outage of their phone, their internet. I believe there was 911 services that were also taken offline. I'm not sure about TV. I'm going to assume TV was out as well. So Rogers doesn't really have a leg to stand on right here, because they can't handle themselves and they want to start handling customers. I honestly couldn't tell you if they released a statement in regards to the outage that they had. All I've seen is them saying, it's good. It's all good. You can go back. Just pretend this never happened. And now, by the way, you got to show ID if you want to enter our store and buy a phone. You know, if you want to come in and give us money, you have to show us government ID. What's going to happen when that government ID starts to contain medical information? Like, geez, what could I use as an example? Your vaccination status, your vaccine passport. That's going to be integrated into IDs very soon. So you're going to have to present that modified identification card given to you by the government to enter a private establishment that they're going to 1,000% sure enter into a database, profile customers based on the information that the customers, they'll argue, are voluntarily giving to the store because they want to get a cell phone. You can't say you're voluntarily giving up information when someone requires something of you in order for you to obtain something that you have a basic human right to access. In Canada, telephone is a basic human right. In Canada, internet is a basic human right now. It was not previously, but it is now because we live in a digital age. So yeah, that's a kind of a shit show that just showed up just as I was speaking to you lovely people. So yeah, I'm going to end this the same way that I started. Down with the monarchy. Fuck the monarchy.
You just got fucked.